Welcome, 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 welcome to our Sunday Reset, guys. It's been a year since I've had a live Sunday Reset session. Hopefully, you all have been receiving the email version of Sunday Reset. But I just really felt, especially for the time of year that we're in, especially for what so many of us have been enduring over the past several months. I personally have been through quite a bit of loss, and there is something really special for me about this season of the year, this time of life, the fall season, that really welcomes and ushers in a moment to reset. For me, it's a moment of really letting go, of shedding, just as the trees do, or trees have to shed their leaves, otherwise they will die. And so there is something that we can learn from nature itself, right? Where we can start to allow ourselves, if we give ourselves the permission to release anything that we might be holding, known or unknown, right? The fall season, of course, brings my favorite pumpkin spice lattes, but it also brings this vivid and stark reminder that we can learn from nature about what it means to let go. So, in light of what we've all endured, whether there is a plan that you had for 2021 that hasn't quite come to fruition in the way that you had hoped. Maybe you're going through some significant life changes, maybe a person, in my case, that you have lost, maybe a relationship that you're struggling with or having a difficult time with, maybe work, a job that you've lost or is fading away. Maybe it's a limited belief, a limiting belief, something, a narrative that you might be replaying in your mind that it's time to let go of. And maybe it's just something that you can't quite put your finger on, but you can feel the weight of this load that you're holding on to. And so this is an invitation. I don't have any magic words for you or a silver bullet that's going to get rid of anything that you might be holding that you might need to let go of. But what I can offer, if nothing else, is an opportunity, is a space to be in community, to reconnect with yourself, and to start to let go, to soften. And if nothing else, maybe, tighten, loosen that tightness around your jaw, maybe roll your shoulders back. Maybe this is a moment for you to just really take a deep breath and exhale. And what you'll experience today is that as you start to release and loosen the body, eventually we can start to loosen the mind as well. And my hope is that you leave today feeling lighter than you did coming in, and that you can feel the spaciousness and a sense of possibility and a sense of hope. So that is my hope for you all today. I'm so excited to be seeing so many faces. Brianna, big up yourself. Deborah in the building. Kathy. Oh my gosh. Kemoy, Camila, Marla, nice to see you on camera. Diana, Karen, Kelly, Ingrid. Just giving some shout outs. Oliver Mayer, CG, the Consul General, is in the building. Carrie, it's nice to see you. I still have a couple people in the waiting room, so just bear with me while I let them in. So let's just start. I want to invite you to just take a moment and reflect and see if you can identify what it is that you might need to work on releasing and letting go of today. If you have a journal, you might use this opportunity to start just taking notes. This is a time in my life when I will release, or I need to release. And I like to say that our soul speaks through our pens. So without thinking too hard or thinking too much, just allow your soul to speak through the pen and see what comes up. This is a time in my life when I can now release, Welcome, welcome, welcome to Vanessa and those just coming in. We're doing a very brief journaling practice. The prompt is in the chat. This is a time in my life when I can now release. So take a moment to journal in response to that and see what comes up. So what we can start to realize is that given the ever-changing nature of life, things are always shifting. I have a plant here on my desk. Some leaves are green, some leaves are yellow, 2-leaf. I might need to just cut them off because they're dead. And we look around us and nature continues to remind us of this ever evolving, ever changing nature of life. So how many of you would say that you're experiencing some shift, some change, some letting go in your life? Give me a show of hands or jump in the chat. Okay, most of you have your hands up. And for those of you who did not have your hands up, that will likely change as well, because such is the nature of life, right? My mindfulness teacher shared this joke. He says, a woman marries a man expecting that the man will change, but he doesn't. A man marries a woman expecting that she will change, that she won't change, and she does, right? So there is humor as well in the ever evolving, ever changing nature of life. And this is what I want to just invite you all to embrace. And accepting this reality of impermanence. And impermanence really speaks to this universal changing reality of life, this harsh reality that all things must come to an end. Every life, every relationship, every circumstance, every job, every vacation. Had a wonderful time in Jamaica. Even good movies, like movies that have an amazing ending, and you sit there for 2.5 hours and then it comes to an end and you realize, man, that was a good movie. So Pema Chodron, which is one of my favorite mindfulness teachers, she has a book, highly recommended, When Things Fall Apart. And she writes, impermanence is the goodness of reality. And just as the 4 seasons are in continual flux, winter changing to spring, spring changing to summer, summer changing to fall, just as the day becomes night, light becoming dark, and then becoming light again. In the same way, everything is constantly evolving. People, things, experiences, circumstances are constantly forming and evolving around us. It's the cycle of life. Right? Trees at this time of year, they start to change bright red colors. The author is Pema Chodron, Pemachhodron. And the book is When Things Fall Apart. I read that book in a time in my life when it felt like things were really falling apart. And so in a way, without impermanence, we start to realize that life is not possible. And if you think about the life cycle, when a baby is born, we bask in the glory of their growth milestones. When your child is getting taller, you put them against the wall, you mark their height on the wall, right? You love to see how much they're growing, their first step, their first word. Is it mommy? Is it daddy? Is it something else? And yet we don't realize that the same phenomenon is at play in the nature of death. And so we can start to embrace this reality, this acceptance that without impermanence, babies don't grow. Without impermanence, the sick won't get better. And without impermanence, plants and animals won't grow either. I remember when my mom passed, my aunt was here and she said, "How are you so calm? Like, how are you okay with this?" And I just looked at her graciously and I said, "It's acceptance. It's acceptance of the impermanence of all things. It's life." So this law of impermanence can offer us a sense of ease. We can start to ease our way through the time of transition that you all have identified that you are going through. And we can start to ease our way through the pain, remembering that this too shall pass. We have this tendency of gripping, right, to things as we want them to be, even when it's not the best for us. But there is something about the familiarity that we'd rather hold on to than to let go. And what we don't realize is that two things. Number one, the more we tighten the grip, the more we'll get rope burn. You know, when you hold on to a rope and it burns the middle of your hand. And the second thing that we fail to recognize is what is possible on the other side if we start to loosen that grip, right? That there is actually freedom and there is actually joy that's available to us if we simply just surrender to the unfolding of life. And that there is wisdom in one, realizing that everything changes, and then two, making peace with that. Because when we're faced with change, our natural human reaction is to resist. And what you resist will persist. There's a really neat equation that pain, is a part of life, but suffering is optional. And the extent to which we suffer is based on how much we resist what is. It's wanting something to be different. And so suffering equals the pain times the resistance. Suffering equals pain times the resistance. Kathy's shaking her head. Like, yep, ain't that the truth? Give me some. Right? So really, I came up with this really strange analogy, but work with me here. I think of letting go as defrosting a hard, frozen bag or pot of soup, or like chili, or like pasta sauce. And think about this for a minute. Just work with me here. Yes, Debs, work with me. You place this hard, solid rock of ice into the pot. And eventually the edges, as the heat from the pot start to melt away at the ice, the edges start to soften, right? And then you're left with this hard core in the middle. Marlon says, maybe some curry goat. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, right? But when we put the cover on the pot, we allow the heat to work its way into the ice. And when we allow for the heat to do its job, eventually we can open the pot. And what we have is a wicked pot of curry goat or red pea soup or chili, whatever rocks your boat, right? And so there is a part of letting go that involves this allowing, an allowing of nature to take its course. And that's what I want us to practice today. If you've read the book, The Alchemist, by Paulo Coelho, he writes, if you're brave enough to say goodbye, life will reward you with a new hello. Yes, Marlon, with the roti, waiting for the curry goat. Yes, indeed. So that really speaks to what is possible on the other side of letting go. of allowing the defrosting to happen, right? Allowing that defrosting to take fold. And there is courage in embracing this reality. I'm not suggesting here that it's easy and, you know, we might start to do the work today, but this might be something that for the next several months we continue to work through. But my invitation is that you just allow yourself to soften at the edges and just see what you can start to release, what will start to break away, and what will start to let go. So we'll do that in a guided practice. You'll hear my voice and I'll walk you through the steps, and just really allow yourself to go as far as is comfortable for you. If turning off your camera feels more comfortable, do that. If tears come, tears are a powerful source of healing. Allow the tears to come, and we'll just see what happens, knowing that we are here in community with like-minded souls who came here today, who showed up to do this work together and in community, and we can be united in that love, right? All right, let's go. So just starting by closing your eyes, taking hold by firmly planting your feet into the ground. We can start this process of letting go by really establishing a sense of groundedness. The process of letting go can be very destabilizing. And so we can regain a sense of stability by establishing a sense of groundedness. So I want you to feel that sense of groundedness. Feel the energy of your feet connected to the floor beneath you. And if you allow yourself, you might feel the energetic connection that's there. And taking a few deep breaths in, breathing out through the mouth at your own pace, allowing yourself to breathe as deeply as is possible. Opening the mouth and hearing that lion's breath, a symbol of letting go with each breath. Every action, every movement with an intention of letting go. And shifting your attention now to the chair, the seat beneath you. Taking note of what it feels like to be held, to be supported, to be safe. And directing your breath to your seat muscles, just investigate if it might be possible to soften those muscles, releasing just a little bit more. Bringing your attention now to your posture, holding a posture that signifies dignity, alertness, but not too stiff. And maybe bringing your back from the back of the chair, bringing the shoulders up to the ears and rolling them back, breathing through the mouth as you roll the shoulders back. releasing any tension that might be at your jaw. You might find it helpful to slightly open the mouth, maybe even bringing a slight smile to the lips. Allowing your mouth to hang open effortlessly. So as you continue to breathe, just noticing your body as it breathes. Noticing this life force that's flowing through your body. You might even start to notice the ever-changing nature of each breath. And just like waves that crash against the shoreline, every wave comes and every wave goes. And so too does the breath. So take a moment to tune into the breath, identifying a part in your body where you can experience your breath quite vividly. And so I'll give you a few options here. You might choose to focus on the sound of the breath, this ocean-like roaring sound. You might choose to focus on the sensation of the breath, back of the throat, tingling at the nostrils. Maybe for you, it's the movement of the breath, movement of the chest, the in and out movement of the belly. So choosing your own adventure here. Go ahead and take a few minutes to really tune in to the ever-changing nature of the breath. With each breath, reminding ourselves of the intention to soften, to let go, giving ourselves permission to release that which is known or even unknown, whatever might no longer be serving us. With each exhale, reinforcing the intention to simply let go. So notice the body breathing for you. Notice the heart beating for you. You might even open your attention to the changes in your surrounding, sounds that might be coming and going, conversations in the background, a sound of a fan or AC. Notice the ever-changing nature of life, even in your surrounding. And just as you're sitting here, allowing the breath, allowing the heart to beat, this, my friend, is a practice in allowing. And so the ice can start to defrost, things can start to melt away. And with this allowing, with this acceptance, we create this capacity, the capacity to hold whatever is here. Remembering that we can always return to the breath, allowing ourselves to breathe through whatever pain, whatever difficulty may arise. And so what we'll do now is bring to the forefront of your mind something that you can identify you might need to let go of. A person, a relationship, an identity of self that you no longer feel is serving you, limiting beliefs that might be playing out in your mind, maybe a grudge that you're holding that you might need to forgive someone for. Maybe there's guilt, something that you might need to forgive yourself for. Taking a moment to identify something that is meaningful for you. Maybe not too painful. Trusting your intrinsic wisdom to guide you appropriately. And so I'll give you a few moments of silence to choose what is it that you want to work on releasing. And as you bring this thing to the forefront of your attention, allowing yourself to meet this thing with the fullness of presence and love and compassion, and start to notice how this thing is living inside of your body. Start to notice the sensations. Maybe the heart starts to pound. Maybe the breath starts to shorten. You might notice a tightness in the throat, a sinking feeling in the belly. In these next few moments, tune in to the sensation that is present in your body. We can start to investigate how this thing is living in us. Fear, frustration, anger, grief, whatever it is, these issues live in our tissues. So take a moment to identify where and how is it living inside of you. And we can start to investigate the intelligence of this sensation. So if you could pretend that this part of your body could speak words to you, what do you imagine this part of you might say? What might this part of you need? Does it need reassurance? Does it need to be loved? Again, remembering that we have the capacity to hold whatever is arising, and returning to the breath if that's necessary or helpful. A moment to reset and breathe into whatever you are experiencing. This is a practice in allowing. And what we'll practice now is meeting whatever it is that you're experiencing with compassion. And you can start to demonstrate for yourself your capacity to love, to support, to hold yourself through whatever it is that life brings your way. And we can actively do this in a few ways. You might choose to place a hand on your heart. And for reinforcement, you can place 2 hands on the chest and really pressing into the chest. Or maybe giving yourself a hug, holding on to your arms, cupping your face as you would cup the face of a child. These are acts of self-love, acts of compassion, acts of resourcefulness that we can offer to ourselves. And so take a moment to do that now. And if we could activate our higher self, the most wisest version of ourselves, tuning into that wisdom, what might that part of you say right now? All will be well. We got this. I love you. We'll get through this. This too shall pass. Whatever that might be for you, take a moment now to tune in to the wisdom of your higher self. Returning to the power of the breath, breathing deeply. Again, releasing through the mouth. And just taking a moment to allow the nutrients of the time that you've been sitting here to wash over you, to nourish your heart, to nourish your soul. Really squeezing all the juice of this practice that you possibly can by just taking a moment to allow the practice and the nutrients of the practice to really settle in. And just taking a moment to physically start to brush this off, shaking the hands, bringing them in front of us, raising the hands above the head, breathing out, bringing the arms out to the side, shake, shake, shake. You might even shake your feet. Yes, I love it. Taking a deep breath, rolling the head. And then just clapping yourself for the great work. A practice in letting go, a practice in allowing and not judging the outcome or whatever it is that you experienced. What we can all celebrate is the fact that, number one, you showed up for yourself. Number 2, you took the time to connect with yourself. You found the courage to face whatever it is, good or bad, that you might be working through. And with this quality of presence, you were able to meet this thing and just invite it to let go, like a house guest. You know, it was great to have you. It's time to go. I love you. We'll talk again soon, right? So I'd love to just hear from a few of you. Oliver says, thank you so much. You are so welcome. Marlon says, bye, Felicia. So I'd love to just get some feedback and have you share and vocalize and put power to voice by sharing what you might have experienced. What was helpful about that for you? Oliver says, I felt the power of community. I love that. Rain says, this is a powerful practice. Thanks for guiding. If we can do this on a more consistent way, the healing is truly powerful. Amen to that. Hi there, Cassie. Hey, April. Hi, Kamoy. Loving the WellFit family in the building. So who would like to come off of mute? I'd love to welcome a voice into the room to speak power to what you've experienced today. Brianna.
I accidentally just sent a message to Camila that was supposed to be for everyone, but I'll just say it here instead. I think the practice was very helpful in recognizing fear and your anxiety and kind of putting it in a box and then putting the box down. And so I recognize that just naturally from time to time, I'll probably pick it back up. So just to come back and center yourself again and breathe and put yourself in the moment now, right now, not in the future, not in the past, just being in the present and kind of just letting go of that fear and anxiety. So I do appreciate breathing with you guys this morning in this space. So thank you.
I love that, Brianna. And I appreciate the recognition that this is not a one-time thing, right? That it will likely come back, the feeling, the desire, the tendency to hold tightly might likely come back. But what you are able to do today, a couple things. One, you are able to see how it lives inside of you. By tuning into the sensation, you can see how it is that you're carrying it, so that you have now a deeper sense of familiarity with how is this thing living inside of me. And so when we experience that sensation, we can say, oh, I know what that is. That's that thing that has come back, the unwanted house guest that keeps returning. It's like the fly that will not go away. And what you also demonstrated is the capacity to allow. My teacher, Tara Brack, likes to talk about having tea with Mara, having tea with the thing that we're working through, the difficulty that we're grappling with. There is power in allowing, and I'm not suggesting that you be a mat that you walk over, but in accepting things as they are. And we can regain and reclaim our power in doing that. I see Carrie Ann has a raised hand. Go ahead, my love.
So for me, it was the space to really think about what I wanted to let go. And I saw someone in the chat say affirming things that she already let go. And for me, it was something that sorry, Jude in the background.
Hi, Jude.
It was something that I thought I had let go, but taking the time to really sit and think it through, I realized that I haven't truly let it go. So being present to that, giving myself the space to think that through, and how it's a journey, like you said. So I thought I let it go, but I really didn't. So it's giving myself that space to think about it, think through why, and move forward.
And it's this reminder too, right? That the more we hold, the worse the rope will burn, right? So just remembering that analogy and reading some things here in the chat. Kamoy says, acknowledging that things need to come to an end, which in and of itself can be a harsh reality to face. And that's not a bad thing, right? We can just see this ending, this impending ending, as a part of life, right? It's the coming and going of the wave. It's the falling and fading away of the leaves from the tree. Kelly says, being present in silence and unpacking with yourself with love. Yes. What a beautiful practice in showing ourselves how we can be a friend to ourselves in these moments of pain and despair and sadness. And tea time is a great analogy for the house guest. Yes, come and have tea. And when this tea, this cup of tea is done, it's time for you to go. And Ingrid says, fear of the future and being open to a new way of being, a new way of living. There, for me, what that triggers is this sense of groundlessness in transition, right? From a brain science perspective, one of the difficulties is in letting go is the fact that we love certainty. We want what we know. We want the familiar, even if the familiar is no longer serving us. And so we hold on to it. And sometimes letting go means that we're surrendering to an unknown that is not familiar. And there's something really scary about that. And so we can embrace that groundlessness with this reassurance of self. And I see Marlon has his hand raised, and then I'll go to you, Kelly, mom. That's my mom, guys. That's my stepmom, #1 in the world.
I'm gonna defer. I'm gonna defer to the mom, Auntie Kelly. Auntie Kelly, go ahead.
Come on, Marlon. How come? You making me skip the line?
Yeah,
Hi,
go ahead.
everybody. Okay. My question is sort of twofold. I appreciate the tools being shared here and how to bothering me about me and wanting to let go and address. But then there's also a component that I'm working through now about grief. And I don't know if I want to let go the persons I've lost. I want them to stay with me. So I'm not sure if I'm balancing this correctly, but I want Daddy and Gina to live with me in my heart and be with me on a day-to-day basis. I'm embarking on going to court, and I would love my father to be with me in court. But then in doing the breathing and the work, I realized also that there are things about Kelly that I would like to let go while honoring the lessons that I've learned from both Gina and Daddy. So I'm feeling, my question really is, I feel a little out of balance here.
Yeah. I can see that 100%. And, you know, at first when I was wrapping my mind around this topic, and it really is very closely linked to grief, is that same thought of, but I don't want to let them go. I want to hold on to them forever. And with that desire comes this exploration of remembering, right? That suffering equals pain times resistance. Resistance comes in the form of wishing that something was different than the way it is. And so you can ask yourself, what am I wishing was different? What am I wishing was different?
Okay, That's pretty straightforward. I'm wishing they were here.
Aha.
However, I can turn that wish to be different since they are not here. Accept that they are still with me in the way I want to remember them with me. So it's sort of, I don't want to say easy, but it sort of helps to make it manageable because you don't want to think of them in the latter days, but you want to think of them in the wholesome way.
Yes.
And that's how you want them with you.
So what I just heard from you is the power of acceptance and the transformative power of acceptance, because the two choices that you just presented was, I can either hold on to the desire that they could still be here and I want them to be here, and who wouldn't, right? I want, like, Christmas without mommy, what's that gonna look like? Like, I want her to be here to decorate the tree. And we can transform that desire into the recognition. One, the acceptance, okay, she's not here, he's not here, they are not here. That acceptance and this recognition that, but I can also hold on to the memory, the version of them, the laughter, the wise words that they shared, right? We can hold those memories, and there it is. We can, it's so, I think, you know, what I'm taking from this very exchange is the recognition that, again, the pain is there. The pain of the loss is there. What is the extent of your suffering when you can meet that pain with acceptance rather than resistance? Transformative.
Absolutely. What a shift.
What a shift.
Over to you, Marlon.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom Kelly. So Sky, thank you so much for creating this Sunday Reset space. Great to see your beautiful space and smile. Well, from the journaling, I said this is the time in my life when I can now release total full control of the unknown. And because it's important to do that, because you have more power when you're intentional with what you can control. Yes. You have to make a choice, a deliberate choice, to recognize the power that you have control over, and then to activate that. So I'm doing that intentionally in these years. And I have some advice for Kelly. So I lost my grandmother. This is the 11th year. I spent a lot of time with her. You know, my mom, she was here. You know the Jamaican family. You stay with your grandparents. What was my grandmother? And my grandmother spent a lot of time with her. And she was a woman of routine, meaning she prayed every morning, kneeling at the bed, and I can hear her vividly. She would read from her daily word. Then she would drink a cup of Milo with the water crackers. And then she may have for lunch, she may have some sardine with the Scotch bonnet. In the evening, when the sun is setting on the porch, she would peel the sugar cane and cut it into small pieces and give it to us. So what I do, Kelly, because letting go is very, very hard, but that doesn't mean forgetting, right? So I have taken ownership of the things that remember her the best. So I order the daily word. It comes to me every month, right? So I have it here right at my daily word. And so I can pray and kneel and do a devotion that she would every morning. I drink Milo with the water crackers, right? That's like being with her and remembering her. Now and then some sardine with the Scotch bonnet and the onions and the scallion and the tomato, and yes, she's having that. And I, here in South Florida, I can get sugar cane. I go and get the raw sugar cane, and I take my time and peel it and cut it up. And so if there is something that, or someone that you're trying to let go, then try to find those things that you enjoyed with them and do those things. And it gives me the greatest comfort and joy, Kelly, to do those things. And it could mean a number of other things that that person that you are resisting letting go, right? So in order
Marlon,
for
you have no idea. You have no idea. Oh my goodness. There is so many Milo, so many Scotch bonnet, saltfish crack. There's so many. There's so many. And I thank you for that, because you tend to think of these things as even trivial, but just that simple act of getting the daily word. My father was so insistent about blowing your horn to prevent an accident, and I resisted it all through my driving, but I'll be blowing my horn. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. So just use those moments. And you know,
yes,
cane has never tasted so good. I take my time just peeling the cane and even getting the cane with the red streaks in it that she used to love with the rum in it. You gotta, so, and you know, I'm close to the family. You've seen the news. You know, Mia Marcano, young lady, daughter of friends of mine, and we're trying to figure out what the next move is going to be for the family as they discovered her body yesterday. And she was very involved with Miami Carnival. The carnival is this week, actually, and her stepmom and Mia were very involved in carnival, and the parade is going to be next week Sunday, and we're just trying to figure out how can we remember her or even let go in terms of what's going to happen this week. And so we're going to have to use the music, the memory of the music, and being in a costume and getting dressed and preparing for the carnival is something that we may use that moment, because the carnival is not going to disappear. Life doesn't stop for your suffering. Life does not stop for your suffering. So then,
Amen.
How do you carve space, gracious space, to have those memories that will give you that comfort? So that's my advice.
Marlon, you just are nice up the place. Kemoy is giving you hearts. Kelly is saying, bless you, Marlon. Ingrid, thank you, Marlon. Karen, thank you, Marlon. What I'm hearing from this also, Rebecca is giving you a clap hands. So much love, and this recognition of the importance to honor those and that which we have lost. It's the honoring, and we can do that by reliving the memories, having the daily word, drinking the cup of Milo, and do that in our own way, but the importance of honoring. And so even with this letting go, it's not a shoo. It's a gentle, you know, when a house guest is leaving, you walk them out the door and you thank them for being here.
Yeah.
And you kindly ask them to leave. So whether it's something that you're struggling to let go of, you feel that you don't want to let go of, or you're really trying to push out the door, what I'm taking from your sharing, Marlon, is the importance of honoring and to do that letting go as an act of love as well, to do that with love.
And my last parting gift is this morning's memory was a small pot of cornmeal porridge. You hear the spoon scraping in the bottom of the pot. You hear the nutmeg against the grater. You hear the opening of the cinnamon stick packet, and then you take the time and you swirl the condensed milk. And as a kid, you would hear her making this cornmeal porridge, and that was another treat this morning. That so I used those moments to kind of
so powerful. So powerful. Tamar says this after conversation was so necessary. It's truly hitting home. Thank you, guys. I want to acknowledge that it is 12 o'clock. We're at the top of the hour. I will stay behind because I see a couple hands here still up that I'd like to get to your questions, but just want to thank each and every one of you for showing up today, both for yourselves, but for this community. It's been over a year since we've done Sunday Reset. I have a survey that I cannot quite figure out how to launch, but one of the questions that I put in the survey is this something that we should continue, and how often? Is this something, so maybe just put that in the chat before you leave. Is this something that you'd like to see on a monthly basis, maybe on a weekly basis, so that we can start to organize ourselves around really continuing to feed and fuel this community, and do this healing work that is so powerful. So let me know what frequency feels right for the community. And then, not to make this a shameless plug, but this is a shameless plug for the online programs that we have that are running right now. And you can check them out. I have the website in the chat, and we've created a 10% discount if you've attended today's Sunday Reset. So the discount code is SundayReset, and you'll get a 10% discount on the 2 online programs that we have. One is a 21-day meditation program, and the other is a 7-day. I know many of you here have already done the program and have shared rave reviews. So thank you all. I hope that as you close your eyes and we bring this session to an end, and as you just take a deep breath, I hope that this breath and every breath from here on for the rest of the week, when you bring your attention to the breath, may that breath serve as a reminder that you are loved, that you are love, and that this too shall pass, that you have the capacity to continue and to move forward in love, to be supported, to be guided, that you are blessed. I love you. Have a wonderful week. And I'll stay on for a few more minutes because I see April, I see you have your hand up. You want to go ahead? Here is the link. Kemoy.
So I thought what Marlon said about how he honored his grandmother was so powerful.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny when you wrote in the group about your mom having a terminal cancer, and like I felt it to my core, you know, because 12 years ago, this month actually, my mom passed away from a terminal cancer, you know, so it spoke to me. And it was good in that, you know, they called it 10 months and we literally got 10 months. And it was good because we got to do all that we wanted to do or say all that we wanted to say. And I've always kind of practiced what Marlon said in terms of honoring her, you know? My son's sick, so he's never met her. But I tell you, if Taurus Riley's She's Royal song plays, he'll know, oh, that was grandma's song, you know, because I am intentional about carrying her with me, with him, like he'll value her. But there's something that you said about, or someone said about wishing that things would be different. And I found myself throughout this pandemic back in that place, wishing that things would be different, because if she was here, my pandemic experience wouldn't have been as difficult.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you have to let it go, but you honor, but then, you know, life happens, stuff happens.
And it comes back.
It sets you back.
Yeah.
So it's to figure out how to navigate those ebbs and flows, you know?
I would say, one, to honor the ebb and flow, right? When my dad passed, Kelly sent us, I think it was a poem, or I think it was someone's response in a chat group, and it talked about the waves of grief. This recognition that time doesn't heal, but doing the work does. And that grief will come and go like a wave, and some waves are gentle and it comes as just slight sadness, and some waves are huge and they consume us. But if we can accept with the knowing, there is such power in the truth that the grief, the loss, the pain will come back. And this too shall pass. And the power in the this too shall pass is that we have the power to decide how long does it stay and how painful is it going to be, right? Because suffering is that pain times the resistance. And so what do we do in those moments when the pain comes back? We say, oh, hi, unwanted house guest. I see you have returned on my doorstep, uninvited. The bed hasn't even been made, but here you are. Come on in. Let me make you a cup of tea. All right, sit down. Let's have tea with the pain that's here. It's a way of welcoming. It's a way of allowing. It's a way of honoring that this is a part of life. And we can reclaim our power in doing that. Again, when we do that, the edges of the ice start to defrost. It starts to melt away, and eventually the core will melt. And at the end of that, what's possible is a yummy pot of curry goat or whatever, right? Red pea soup, whatever it is that you've been stewing on. So that's what I would offer. April is one, accepting that it will come back. And when it does, we can welcome it with acceptance and allowing, knowing that on the other side of that is pure goodness and joy. We can actually find joy despite the loss, you know, and how beautiful it is that your son hears she's royal and can celebrate your mom, even though he's never met her. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
There is so much in the chat. Karen says, I feel you, April. I don't think there's one day that goes by that I don't think even fleetingly about how different my life would be if my brother Dwight were still here. We were twins in spirit and a part of me has left with him. Oh, man. Rain says, yes, Kemo, I continue to keep her memory alive. Oh, April, it can be painful at first, but it makes all the difference. Honor her by how you live. So sorry for your loss. Thank you so much. And Sam says, yes, monthly. Thank you for today. It's so easy to avoid the feelings, the emotions, the intentions, but so powerful to learn how to let them go and not suffer anymore. Thank you, everyone who shared today. Thank you to Marlon. Thank you to Kelly. Thanks to everyone who nice up the ting with your vulnerability and your sharing. I had a poem that I wanted to share with you guys. I'll just share it for those of you who are still here. It's a poem by Donna Falls, and she writes, it only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still. And just like that, something in me settles. Something softens and makes space for the imperfection. That harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper. And I remember again that life isn't a relay race, that we will all cross the finish line, that waking up to life is what we were born for. As many times as I forget, I catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going. That many times I can make the choice to stop, to breathe, to be, to allow, and to walk slowly into the mystery of life's unfolding. So may you find time this week, every one of you, to pause and to celebrate life in all of its mysteries and its mercies. I love you all. April says, I love you all. Kathy says, phew, April, thank you for sharing. I lost my mom 2 years ago to cancer, complications of surgery. And there are moments where I say life would be so much better and different if Mom was here, but I will honor her. Yes. So I think once I end the call, you should all get a survey. Una, please just take a moment to fill out the survey, please, so I can know how often we should do this, what topics you guys want us to discuss. Cassie says, I'm not seeing the link in the chat for the sessions. Can you please resend? Okay, so the website is www.transcendglobal.org. All right. And we can honor each other in love. The goodness in me offers the goodness and the light in each of you. Mwah. Love you all.